I'm going to actually do a mini series to kind of lay the groundwork in what the WCG actually taught as its entire biblical worldview. I've kind of done it in portions before, but I wanted to kind of do like an overlying theology of the WCG. So let's start with creation. The churches of God are very literalist, which means that every word that was written actually happened. But for Genesis, we were old earth creationists. So instead of the world was formless and void, we believed it had become formless and void. And the earth was recreated in Genesis 1. We saw what happened in Genesis 2 as having taken place on the sixth day. And then everything else in the Old Testament was very literalist, with even books like Jonah seen as truth. I say that because I personally believe that book is a novel. Actually a satire, but neither here nor there. Part 2. Back to Genesis 1. Between the time that God created the heavens and earth and the time that the earth became formless and void, we believed that that was the time when dinosaurs were around and all that stuff, kind of like as a first stage. And then with Satan's fall with the other fallen angels, that actually destroyed the dinosaurs, potentially. This is based on chapters like in Isaiah 14. Another important point about Genesis is that at the very end, when Joseph was having his two sons blessed by his father Jacob, there's a story about the younger being blessed as the one with the birthright. Manasseh was born first, but Ephraim got the birthright. This becomes a central and key part of the theology. Jacob says that Ephraim will become a greater nation than Manasseh. We believed that the United States was Manasseh and that the United Kingdom was Ephraim. And now I know the reason. It's because Britain was the one that went all over the world.
Part 3. Our concept of the New Testament was not too far off from other Christians, but we definitely had a nuance. Israel was the first of the two kingdoms to be taken over, so the remnants of Ephraim and Manasseh were dispersed early on. So even though we felt that we were, in the United States, Manasseh, we did not consider ourselves Jewish per se. But we did feel that the biblical laws of the Old Testament applied to us. So that's how we typically got around the concept of the law being obsolete. There were other arguments too, but the main one was, well, we're actually part of the bloodline, so we're going to do the laws. The main laws that we didn't do had to do with animal sacrifice, which the Samaritans still perform today, which is very interesting. We didn't, but we thought that the Gentile church was distinct from us because we were part of the bloodline. And this should be the last part. The reason we felt that we had to do the laws was because there was a distinction between Jewish Christians and the rest of Christianity. We felt that we fell under the Israelite umbrella, so for that reason we performed the laws, which we felt that we had every right to do because you have evidence of that in the New Testament, like Timothy going to appease the Jewish Christians. Anyway, so at the very end of time, we also did believe in the literal millennium, with there being a 3.5 or a 7-year tribulation period, with Christians on earth not being raptured. Then, at the very end, Christians rise first, and then it is everybody. Should everybody's name be found in the book of life, then they go to the kingdom. Otherwise, you're thrown into the lake of fire and you cease to exist. We thought that most people would make it past that judgment. So we were kind of sort of universalist, but not really. And that's that.